Hello and good morning everyone. Thank you for joining Jade Global today for the webinar on how to accelerate your CRM deployments by automating your end-to-end CRM test cycles. My name is Sangeeta Jayash and I'm the Marketing Manager at Jade Global and also your moderator today for this webinar. Now I would like to introduce Amit Iyer. Amit is the Consulting Director at Jade Global. He heads the Technology and Engineering Services Group. He is an avid technologist and has a keen interest on how mobility and social is changing today's world and having a deep impact on how enterprises operate. I'll hand it over to Amit now, who will review the agenda and continue with the presentation. Over to you, Amit.
Thanks a lot, Sangeeta, and thank you everyone for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, where you are. Thanks for taking the time and joining our presentation today. Without losing time, I'd like to kick start on the presentation. So I think my agenda today is to kind of brief you about the solution that we have. We call it JAF, which is a Jade Automation Framework. I'm intending to run through its key value proposition, the architecture, the components, the technologies that we built it upon, some of the integrations, the benefits. I'm also going to be running a short demo, and I'm also going to be talking about automation in the context of CRM today. So just as a background, I wanted to kind of say that JAF is an agnostic automation framework built on the Selenium platform, and we have basically extended Selenium's capability to beyond web applications. So traditionally, Selenium is limited to web applications only, whereas leveraging JAF, you can kind of extend that to any kind of non-web application, which means you can do it with your SAP, your ERP, and any of desktop applications and things like that that might be integrating to your CRM applications today. However, today's focus of the webinar today is going to be largely around CRM and how you can leverage JAF for accelerating your CRM deployments. Sangeeta, you want to cover the participant survey?
Sure, yeah. We'll launch a quick poll here. So our poll question is, what do you aim to achieve by employing test automation in your enterprise? So is it to improve go-to-market time, or to save time and money, or to increase efficiency of testers, or to improve test coverage, or increase test repeatability? So you can see 5 options on your screen. We would request you to click one of the options which you think is applicable to you. Please choose one of the options displayed on your screen and submit your answer. All right. Thank you very much for answering the question. We'll close the poll now.
And thank you all for submitting your responses to the poll. So it's looking like most of the responses are kind of focusing around improved go-to-market and increased efficiency and saving time and money. So that's kind of the trend we notice as well. So I think this is no different to some of the trends we are noticing amidst our customers. So before I start and kind of talk about JAF, right, I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of a background where JAF kind of came out of, right? So within my practice, within the Jade Technology and Engineering Services practice, we have QA and testing as a horizontal service. So it is basically a unit that services QA across all of our different lines of business across all our customers. Because we see quality assurance as a key part of your business these days. We are seeing changes in the way the market works today. We are going into shorter agile cycles. We are going into shorter releases. We are seeing multiple releases in the market, whether it's your CRM systems or whether any of your systems. So it becomes more imperative for you to make sure that the software that you release into your production system is accurate and does what it meant to be doing. And that's why QA becomes very important. And at the same time, you cannot be manually doing your QA all the time because that takes a lot of time and effort. It increases the cycle and the SDLC time. And that's where automation plays a key role. So we are seeing this as an increasing trend, especially with agile customers who are adopting automation at the first go. And JAF kind of came out of that particular requirement or demand that we saw in the market. We saw there was a lot of market demand for automation-related tools. However, the cost of automation tools, commercial automation tools from the likes of HP or IBM, was very high. Some of our customers used to be spending about $1 million plus annually on some of these tools, just in terms of the licensing cost. So and traditionally we have also seen Selenium picking up a lot of market. It's kind of the market leader when it comes to web-based or browser-based applications. So, but there was a limitation with Selenium. It can only test web-based applications. So what we did basically was our test center of excellence focused, and we invested in the R&D around this. We created our own custom wrappers. We created our own framework on top of the base or underlying Selenium framework, and basically made Selenium made it extensible to work for any kind of application. So whether it's a Civil CRM, whether it's a SFDC kind of a system on-premise, on cloud, it can test all kind of applications, even integrations. So that's basically the kind of the rationale behind kind of bringing this solution in the market. And what we believe is unique about the solution is the fact that there is no other open source solution that can test all kind of web and non-web applications, especially with the Selenium underlying platform. And this is the advantage. So you basically save a lot of costs just in pure licensing, apart from the other benefits which I'll talk about in the later slides. So as I said, JAF is built on a combination of open source tools. So you don't pay for licensing costs, you don't pay annual maintenance fees and things like that. We believe it's the industry first solution for automating web as well as non-web based testing based on the Selenium framework again. We have integrated it with plenty of open source test management tools, continuous integration tools, defect tracking tools and things like that to kind of make it automated from a test SDLC perspective. Then we also have automated out-of-box accelerators for Oracle EBS and CRM, which we'll talk about and showcase in the next few slides. Then our entire approach has been based on a data-driven testing scenario, in which basically we try and eliminate the test data problem that many of our customers have. So how do you efficiently manage your test data, efficiently leverage it for your test cases and your test scenarios, and don't kind of end up doing repeatedly a lot of typing on the forms and the screens and things like that. So it's like a unique approach which helps you save a lot of time when you kind of do your testing cycles. Before I kind of jump into further things, I wanted to just kind of give a guideline around what are our typical considerations you should have when you'll be kind of going towards an automation approach, whether it's for a CRM or whether it's for any of your enterprise systems. Doesn't really matter. But what we think is the ideal approach towards automation is basically on these three pillars, or these four pillars. So basically it's an ROI-led initiative. So automation is always an ROI-led initiative. So you need to kind of manage how your manual testing costs span out over the year, how many releases are there, how can you reduce the cycle time, and how can you kind of increase your efficiencies. So that's what automation is all about. It's also about optimized automation coverage. Which are your primary candidates for automation, and what should be automated first? Which are your candidates that probably should not be automated? You need to be also considering some of your business process. You need to also align yourself to the program roadmap. For example, if your application is going to get upgraded or some of the modules might have a tremendous set of changes, maybe they are not the right candidates for automation. And then the core or the pillar for our automation success is what are the right kind of tools and frameworks that you use for automation. So coming to JAF, right? The thing that kind of differentiates JAF, is its ability out of box when it comes in the open source world, and the kind of integration it offers out of the box. So our motivation behind creating JAF was to not just automate the business applications in question, but to also automate the entire test SDLC. When I mean the test SDLC, I mean right from picking up the test cases from a test management tool all the way till raising a defect and sending out a report. The entire process has to be automated. So that was our major motivation towards building JAF. And we have been kind of increasing the number of integrations that you have. As you can see in this diagram, we already have it integrated with the likes of TestLink, TestRail, which are major test management tools in the open source world. We also have it integrated with the likes of Jira, Mantis, Bugzilla, which are very popular defect tracking tools. We also have it integrated with performance testing tools like Apache JMeter. And that apart, we also have integrated with various continuous integration tools likes of Jenkins and the Hudsons, so that the moment your build is checked in, and automation can be triggered automatically. There need not be any manual intervention. So right from, as I said, the summary here being right from picking up the test case from the test management tool all the way till raising a defect and sending out a report, the entire process is automated. So that is the core benefit of JAF, and that's where I see most of our customers getting the benefit of JAF. It kind of tremendously increases the cycle time. So what used to be kind of running in hours and hours of manual activities can run literally an overnight cycle, a couple of hours cycle, and kind of you get the results fully populated for you in the most accurate fashion. A little bit more about JAF architecture. Okay, now I'm not going to be kind of talking about every module that is built into JAF and run through this complicated architecture diagram which our architects love to put out. But my kind of the view I say from an architect's perspective, right, is we kind of saw three major actors in an automation testing scenario. The first one being the tester himself. The second one being a QA director or an IT director who would want to see what's happening, how's the release testing going, and the third being a developer who's kind of waiting for the tester to say, hey, all is good, the code can be signed off. So with these three key actors in place, right, that's how we kind of design this system. So what does a manual tester needs? He doesn't want to be managing a lot of test data. He doesn't want to be doing a lot of manual activities. He wants to be seeing things run on its own. He doesn't want automation to be done and then he's looking through a whole big report and raising defects himself. So all of these things can be actually taken care by the platform itself, and that's how we have created and designed JAF. Same for the developer. Now what he wants to be seeing is the standard problem which we typically have in a software lifecycle is a developer and a tester. There's always a lot of back and forth that happens. Hey, the tester raises a defect, the developer comes back and says, I cannot reproduce it. Standard problem. And it's not happening in my environment. This is not a defect. So this is something we hear often. So how do we resolve some of these problems? So what JAF really does during the way it runs is it picks up various screenshots at various different scenarios and unit levels, and it kind of gives the developer enough ammunition for him to say exactly, hey, this is the point at which this has failed, and this was the message we got, this was the logs at that point of time. So the back and forth that would typically happen between a developer and a tester is kind of significantly reduced when you have all such kind of ammunition that you give to a developer. And reproduction of the problem becomes easy. So this kind of helps you again in reducing the cycle time. Again, from a typical IT director's perspective, right? His motivation or his interest rather is, hey, how is the whole thing going on? We have a few thousand test cases. How many have passed? How many have failed? How much it's going to take to retest the whole thing? Are the bugs already logged? Is the developer looking into it? So how can he get a holistic view of all of this? So we kind of built a reporting engine around it. So basically all the kind of typical items that you need, whether it's a reporting engine, whether it's an SMTP integration, whether it's out-of-box accelerators, is something that we thought through in the process over our years of experience in this domain, and we kind of built it all together and bolted on the underlying Selenium platform, which is inherently very powerful, and kind of created this whole solution. So in terms of a little bit about the technologies used, so it's all based on Java largely, by and large. As you can see, I'm not going to be naming every component here, but we are looking at, in terms of skill set, you're looking for a Selenium test engineer to be able to manage this for you in the longer run. We have support across all the browsers, most of the popular browsers today, across most of the popular OS today, and it can not only test web-based applications, it can test desktop or non-web-based or even your mainframe applications for that matter, if you have integrations with. So from a CRM perspective, right, these are the four paradigms that JAF can cover inherently. So the problem that most enterprises that I see is they end up having different kind of tools to test different kinds of applications. So for example, if you have an Oracle ERP system, you can't really use Selenium because Selenium traditionally does not work with ERP. And then if you have an SFDC kind of a CRM system, then you can obviously use Selenium. But then you might also have a mainframe system which does not work with any of the popular tools today. So what is the solution to it? How can you have a unified automation strategy? How can you use the same platform to be testing all of the different problems? For example, if you want to be testing mobile, if you want to be testing your cloud-based applications, if you want to be testing security, JAF is kind of we've thought through that, and we kind of designed through a single platform that gives the capability to be testing all of these different paradigms. So whether it's localization, whether it's performance, whether it's security, whether it's mobile, all of this can be tested leveraging JAF. So that's really the benefit that you see. So we have seen that some of our customers want us to test the Salesforce.com mobile app, and that's kind of possible using JAF. We have seen our customers asking us to stress test their SFDC systems, and we are able to do that leveraging JAF itself. So you don't need to be looking at multiple solutions. Some of our customers also have legacy applications that is integrated with their CRM systems, including some of their fulfillment systems, which are not really web-based, but we are still able to leverage the same tool to be even testing those integrations. So that's the benefit of JAF really. You don't have to be buying different set of tools from the market and investing a lot in licenses. And that in turn obviously adds up to your maintenance costs as well. So coming to CRM, what we have done very beautifully is we have kind of created a set of pre-built test scripts, business flows across the standard CRM processes, right from creating a target, a campaign, all the way to creating a quote, to creating an opportunity to creating a quote, and even further integrations downstream. If you have a fulfillment system or if you have an ERP system that integrates with your CRM, all of those kind of we are covered via a pre-built set of test scripts. When I say pre-built set of test scripts, what I mean is all of your vanilla test cases that you have already kind of built and thought through, it's already there out of the box. It's available out of the box. So it kind of accelerates your test process. It kind of gives you the basic vanilla functionalities already automated out of the box to you to help you accelerate your test SDLC. Then all that you need to focus above and beyond that are the customizations that is in place at your right? So obviously customizations would differ from various installations at various different customer sites. So that's a part that needs to be taken care of separately. But it's significantly, we have seen from a basic customer perspective who wants to start off from scratch for automation, we have seen there is a 60% acceleration if you are able to leverage the JAF framework and some of the pre-built test accelerator suites. Just to also give an idea about the test accelerator suites, we kind of, as I said, we're kind of covering all the crucial business flows. There are about over 134 test cases that we have covered already, and it's increasing. So that's pre-automated verifications and validations across various modules, whether it's campaign, lead, account, opportunity, contract, various business processes within that. At this point of time, I'll just kind of quickly go and show you some of these test cases a little bit more in detail because we have this documented in testing. So I'm going to go out of the PowerPoint presentation mode and just show you how it looks on a typical test link system. So here is an example of our documented test cases, say from a CRM perspective, okay, of how a lead is typically configured. So here is how the specifications would look like. So these are all the use cases that you see typically in a scenario, in a SFDC scenario. How do you kind of log in? What are the test cases? What are the steps? So all these use cases come really handy in your practical environment and kind of accelerates you already. So this is an ever-growing list of test cases which our customers are able to leverage out of the box. All that they need to add on to this, on top of this, is typically the customizations. So, and this kind of gives a lot of benefits. Sometimes we have seen our customers literally using these test cases for doing their sales training as well. So there are some other benefits as well apart from automation testing. I'll go back to the presentation. So now that we've talked about this, okay, I want to talk a little bit more about how integrations are typically covered. So typically you don't have standalone systems in an enterprise. You want ideally enterprise applications that talk to each other. We want machine-to-machine interactions. We want on-premise and on-cloud integrations. So how does it work, right? So how can you have a unified automation strategy? So if you have an SAP kind of a system, an Oracle EBS, or any other EBS system that interacts with your CRM, or any other custom apps, for example, you might have a fulfillment system. As an example, one of our customers has a rental system that he wants integrated with his CRM system. So how can you have a single automation solution that can cater to your integrations, cater to all of this multiple touch points that you have in your enterprise? And that's where JAF comes handy. JAF is not only a CRM solution, it can also help you integrate. So if something kind of flows in from your CRM system to your EBS system or otherwise, or through your fulfillment systems, you can just simply use this tool and kind of run through it. So there's a lot of benefit that comes out of it. You can literally test your entire enterprise business flows leveraging an automation tool. And that kind of is a very significant manual effort. Typically, I would say between doing things manually and between using a framework like JAF, you would at least save 90% of the time. That's what is the minimum that we are seeing at our customers, because that's how fast this runs. We also benchmark this against some of the very popular tools. So we use HPQTP, which is a very, very popular and very, very expensive tool to be doing automation testing. And we kind of ran it through various parameters and benchmarked this against it. Picked up all the best quality features that you would get out of box on HP and kind of build the equivalent in the open source world. So basically, HP has integrations with their quality center as part of the ALM suite, and we have kind of integrated that with TestLink and the TestRail, which are very, very popular open source test management tools that are available in the market. To kind of that's the one I showed it in the previous browser. Then we can even help you migrate from your HPQTP infrastructure to the TestLink. We have created automated scripts for doing that. So the biggest difference, however, is obviously the licensing and annual maintenance fees. So there is zero licensing cost as far as JAF is concerned, whereas with HP, you kind of end up not just buying server-side licenses, agents, but you need to be also investing on a lot of plugins. So if you're having CBIL or if you're having a particular Oracle EBS system, you need to be buying the equivalent plugins as well. So the cost is kind of incremental with every system that you're planning to be using. And the amount of testers obviously also further increase the cost because it's all user-based licensing model. Whereas with JAF, there is no licensing model whatsoever. It's all free. It's all deployed at your premise. There is a cloud version of JAF that's going to be coming out soon. We are kind of in the final stages of finalizing that. So we'll be kind of doing a follow-up webinar to discuss around JAF on the cloud. But at the moment, we support an on-premise deployment model. The other major difference that I see with QTP especially is the amount of hardware that's required. So because this is based on the underlying Selenium framework, which is pretty lightweight and Java, it's quick, it doesn't need hardware. It doesn't need the kind of hardware and servers that is typically required in case of a tool like QTP. So we are talking about literally desktop grade PCs that can literally run your automation testing scenarios. In many cases, our customers simply use VMs to kind of deploy. We have situations wherein we are able to kind of distribute the load across various VMs and kind of do a lot of concurrent execution. Whereas in a QTP, typically the execution is serial or need to kind of be buying in a lot of license to kind of running things concurrently. Again, we have a customized reporting engine, whereas Quality Center has its own built dashboard. So we kind of created the equivalent in the JAF scenario. So all in all, to kind of conclude on this slide, I would say we have kind of built the equivalent of an HP QTP at a much lower and cost-effective model, leveraging the basic Selenium framework, which is one of the most popular in the industries when it anyways comes to web-based testing. And we kind of extended that to non-web-based and desktop-based applications and things like that. So from here, I would like to move to a short SFDC demo that I have with me. It's basically a recording that kind of goes through various scenarios that I have. I'm going to run through this recording. At places, this recording is going to go really fast because automation runs fast, and we have kind of slowed it down just so that you can look at it. So what you're seeing on your screen is a test management tool wherein your test cases are usually scripted. We kind of recommend, we like TestLink a lot, so we kind of recommend that because it's really easy to kind of have everything on your on an online web-based portal as far as test case management goes, rather than having multiple Excels floating around. So this is a small 5 scenario in which we kind of created campaigns, assigning it to leads to account, and all the way till the quote process. So a typical CRM scenario. We also incorporated a failure scenario just to show you if something fails, what happens next. So this is really the beauty of JAF. It's completely data-driven, which means all of the data that you see in the forms need not be entered manually. It can be directly picked up from either an Excel or a database. And across various modules that you would have in your CRM system, you can host in a lot of data. It's a one-time effort to kind of compile this data and put it here. And every time you run like an automation regression suite, you can pick up data from here itself. I can keep adding to the data, which means you can literally run thousands of test cases across thousands of record sets, and data management becomes easy. So the automation is kind of triggered here. It's invoking the Salesforce instance. We've used Salesforce as an example in this case, and we kind of go through the campaigns to leads to accounts, accounts to opportunity, and opportunity to quote kind of a process here. So it's picking up data from the Excel that you previously saw, and it kind of executes it automatically. As you can say, we kind of slowed this down a little bit, but it's still pretty fast, as you would recognize. So that's how the power of automation is. You can literally run thousands of test cases in matters of hours. which traditionally in the manual world will take a lot more time. And as you can see, the framework can handle all the components that SFDC can typically throw at you, whether it's pop-ups, drop-downs, calendars, text boxes, all different kinds of fields that will typically kind of come across in a typical automation scenario. So we're converting the lead into an account. So basically, what I mean by the demo is your entire business process can be completely automated and tested. So every time you are having changes made to your Salesforce.com system, you can literally run a regression tool that can tell you, well, hey, what's working, what's not working, and things like that. So it automatically raises the defect as well, which you'll be seeing further downstream in the demo. So here is a new opportunity. You can see different types of fields getting invoked. And from here, it kind of moves into the creation of the opportunity. You can create both positive and negative test case scenarios, whether it's across any of these modules, across multiple data sets. So this is a typical opportunity to code process. So we see that some of our customers use customized processes, so that is absolutely not a problem. We can kind of customize it. If you have added newer fields, you can kind of use that and customize the automation script at the same time. Kind of significantly saves time and bandwidth when it just comes to testing the platform in place. So this is the opportunity creation, and from here I think it's proceeding to code creation. Yeah. So if you have integrated systems, this can also work across integrated system. We had done a separate webinar previously in which we had shown an EBS to a CRM integration scenario. So even that is available on the internet. If you look at the Jade Global's YouTube channel, you'll be able to see that as well. This is a negative scenario in which we kind of simulated a negative test case and we kind of automatically raise a defect for that negative test case. So this is just to give an example. So the automation run is now complete. You get an automatic email report that says what your tests were, how many passed. Out of the 13 test cases, 12 passed. The one that we purposefully failed, there is a defect raised against it. And there's a detailed HTML report that comes out that has a tree kind of navigation. We can customize this report to however we want. Some of our customers want their logos and backgrounds as per how they want it. So we can completely customize it to the look and feel of how you would desire here. It also picks up screenshots at different stages so that it gives the developer enough ammunition to kind of tell him here at what stage has it actually failed. So the developer can literally do a step-by-step debugging. So that's really a great help. So especially in a failure scenario, you can see what really failed. So in this case, it was the account didn't exist in the account table because we didn't put that in. So that's how it works. And the other beauty is all of these results that you see, all of these test cases that you run, they get all automatically updated back into the test link. So you get pass, fail scenarios for clear auditing results. You get the defects that are raised. You get traceability back. So if you want to be looking at a regression test suite that you ran 3 months back, you can always go back to the build and check. You have the whole documentation ready. You don't need to do documentation manually again. So this is the bug that was created for the failure scenario. The bug was we use Bugzilla as a defect tracking system. Many of our customers use different kinds of defect tracking tools, so we can integrate with any of those tools. So that's one of the other benefits of automation. You can kind of literally automate the entire test SDLC leveraging the APIs that we have already built across any tool for that matter. It doesn't really matter which tool you use. In this case, we use Bugzilla. So this was a short demo we want to kind of show. So what you really saw here was all the way from seeing the test cases picked up from the test management tools all the way to raising a defect and seeing the report. You saw the whole thing as part of a single flow. So you kind of automated the entire test SDLC per se. I'll again go back to the PowerPoint mode and kind of continue to what is kind of my last slide here. So what are the business benefits? So what did we kind of see? Why is JAF any different compared to conventional tools? So compared to Selenium, there's a big difference. It can test non-web based entities. So there are really no industry tools that can test non-web based systems. So if you have a CRM or an SFDC kind of system integrated to a mainframe or integrated to a fulfillment system that is built on age-old technologies or non-web technologies, you can test it using a unified automation solution. So you don't need to have a disparate automation strategy for you. You can just use one tool to solve all your problems. It's customizable, it's scalable framework, It has the out-of-box accelerators for your CRM and EBS instances. It comes with integrations with defect and test management tools and continuous integration tools, which makes everything automated. So the manual tester does not even need to raise a defect. It's automatically raised for him. Then it comes with customized HTML reporting. So you get a detailed report at the end of it. So if you're running a few thousand test cases, imagine yourself getting a mail overnight, the automation running all by itself with no manual intervention whatsoever, and kind of giving you a report saying there were 1,000 test cases that ran, 998 passed, 2 of the test cases failed, and for the 2 failed test cases, you already have defects raised in your system that your developer can come in and look. And he already has all the information to fix the problem because he has all the screenshots. He should know where to look into. And there is no kind of back and forth that typically happens in a testing environment. So what we see the benefits here clearly is there's a reduced software cycle time. CRM systems are typically used by your sales teams who bring in the revenue to you. So it's important for them to be having the latest and the most stable platform. And that's what automation kind of helps. And many of your teams would be using different kind of browsers, so cross-browser support is not a problem. Whether you're using a Mozilla or a Chrome or an IE, doesn't really matter. Somebody using a MacBook, a Safari, we can run it. We can run all of these browsers and test the same applications concurrently. The other, finally, I would add to the part that it's completely data-driven in its approach. So you saw how we have designed for the application to pick up data from the XLS itself. That kind of simplifies a developer's test management problem. So these are some of the things that we kind of put into place while designing JAF, and we believe there is no other solution in the market that kind of caters to something like this in the open source world. So it's something that we're really proud of, and we kind of designed the solution, and this is what we see as a clear benefit, and the customers are kind of reaping the benefits out of it. In some cases, just purely out of license cost savings, we are helping our customers save about $1 million in licensing cost savings. And obviously, the time to market becomes very crucial for them when they come and see some of these out-of-box accelerators for them. It typically accelerates your project cycle by at least 60%. So 60% of your work is already done. What just remains is the customizations part. The framework can be deployed in weeks and in days, literally. It's not a long life cycle when it comes to automation testing tool. All of the software and hardware that is required here is kind of literally out of box. It's open source. It can be installed in it. The kind of skill set that you would require to maintain some of this is really available very easily in the market. Java skills are very common, so it's not going to cost you a lot of money to kind of maintain it in the longer run as well. Maintenance costs are only limited to the costs of the changes that you make to the application. So for example, if you added a field or added a new step to your process, the equivalent changes in the automation scripts need to be made. So that's how I see JAF helping our customers.
So you can call us on the numbers displaying on your screen right now, or you can also email us at marketing@jadeglobal.com. We'll help out with any query you have, and thank you once again very much for attending the webinar. Have a wonderful day.